report.
The January 9th, 2013 meeting of the Missouri City Planning and Zoning Commission is called to order. We have everybody present tonight except for our vice chair, and I presume that she will be on. Have you heard from her?
Yes.
Okay, she's coming? Okay. All right. Moving on to agenda item 3, the minutes. Do I hear a motion that we approve the minutes?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the December minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, the
I'll
minutes.
abstain. Abstain.
You abstained. The minutes are approved as presented. Reports. I don't have a report to give tonight, but all I would like to say again is that I appreciate everybody's help during last year, and we're looking forward to a great 2013. All right, B, any of the commissioners want to make any comments? Anybody? Okay, moving on, agenda item number 5, the staff reports. Gary?
No report.
No report. Jennifer? Planning, none? All right, Public Works?
No report.
No report. All right, moving on to agenda item number 6, public comments. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to step to the podium and address anything which is not on our agenda for tonight? If you would like to do that, please be our guest. If you do, there will be no comments made by any of the commissioners, nor will they answer any questions or whatever, as the law says we can't. All right, seeing nobody coming forth, agenda item number 7, election of a commissioner to serve on the Capital Improvement Plan CIP Committee. Nomination and election of a Planning and Zoning Commissioner to serve on the Capital Improvements Plan CIP Committee.
Okay, I was just going to briefly summarize the purpose and the duties of of the appointment. This capital improvement program is for for each budget year that the CIP is prepared and presented to ultimately to City Council for approval. In each year, there will be a new appointee from the P&Z Commission, but basically, the member will sit on a what we would call an internal committee, which is made up of staff, city staff, and a P&Z commissioner and the city manager. And what they will do is they will receive basically a wish list from each of the departments that wish to have a capital improvement program project included in the program. And there will be a ranking sheet which is attached to the packet that I handed out to you for that person will fill out for each one of those projects that are submitted. And that's how those projects will be prioritized for consideration in the CIP program for council approval. Okay. Now, I can't tell you how many meetings there will be, but the person that's going to serve on the committee will need to be available during City Hall hours from 8 to 5. Don't know what time of day those meetings will be scheduled, but certainly want to work with whoever's on the committee to hopefully be flexible about how we set the time
Last
frame.
year, Sharon, how many meetings did you have?
I don't know because I wasn't involved in the committee meetings last year, but my best guess is anywhere from 2 to 3 during the budget process.
Oh,
Okay, and it could be more depending on how many projects there are submitted for you to review.
we hope there's
Okay.
a lot. But
Yeah, but again, I want to clarify that this is not the bond committee. There's a separate bond committee that we're forming, or that has been formed.
But
And
you're
you do have an
thinking it'd
ex
be no
officio
more than
member on
5.
that. I'm sorry?
it'd be no more than 5.
I would say that's about right, yes.
Okay.
Who was represented last year?
I'm sorry, but I don't
I
recall.
don't think we've ever had one.
We've never had one.
This is
Okay.
new, this is the first year.
This,
we've got
this, actually, this policy was formulated this year by the new city manager. So this year it does include a P and Z commissioner.
Because CIP comes to us.
It
you know,
does.
Like we talked
That's
about
correct.
earlier, so.
Yes.
I think it's a good opportunity to have someone in the process, so when it comes before us, it's a good idea.
So it'd be, on a Monday through Friday timeframe, one of those days of the week. And like I said, I'm sure we can be flexible about making sure everybody can make it. And so, you're looking at about 10 folks on the committee, I believe. There's at least one from, there's a representative from Finance, from Development Services, Parks and Recreation, Planning and Zoning, the city manager, the city engineer, and of course, our CIP administrator.
Of course, the person serving would really get into the intricate parts of the process and everything, right?
The person serving would review
Yeah.
the project submitted and rank them accordingly, yes.
Okay.
So I'll leave it up to you to nominate a member.
I nominate Mr. Lee for the representative from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Well, I'm gonna nominate Ramesh just because I think we ought to open it up a little bit more, but I think Ron probably would do a real good job. But I just wanted to recognize you and say that we ought to get more of our folks involved in the various things that are going on and spread it out a little bit.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I would have also accepted it, except for the fact that the time constraint this year, I have a challenge. But I'll be delighted if the same opportunity opens up next year. When
Okay.
I'm on the commission, it'll be my privilege.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
yeah, just to be clear, that the policy does, we would come back to you again next year for a new nomination.
Good.
If the information at the first meeting is next Tuesday at 2, if that helps, just want you to have it.
Okay,
Well, I think you're it.
Second the nomination.
Anybody you want to put it, there is no other.
Second, do we second a nomination?
I
That's
guess
fine.
you do, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
So anybody else want to throw in?
No, just show of hands who
Please.
wants Lee.
Yep. That'll work.
Good, Mr. Chairman.
There you go.
Okay, great.
Oh, boy. Now you'll have a report. You'll have to get on the agenda.
moving on, agenda item number 8, Sienna South Hillwood proposed exhibits. Discuss comments on exhibits as presented. Gary?
As you recall, last month, I tried to bring you up to date or give you a review of the process that we have gone through on amending the Sienna Plantation Development Agreement as it relates to Hillwood, or the Sienna South property. The Hillwood folks asked us not to lose momentum and to bring the proposed exhibits forward to you, so you will not be studying the exhibits at the same time that you're being presented with the proposed amendments and the complete text. Mr. Odle is here to provide more detail. You have the exhibits in your packet. No actions necessary on this. It's an opportunity for you to raise any questions or concerns on anything that you see.
Would you please step to the podium? State your name.
Yes, Bill Odle with TBG Partners. We're the consultants agent for Hillwood. As Mr. Smith stated, the exhibits are really just updating the existing DA exhibits that we have currently. We've met with staff several times on the exhibits to get proper right-of-ways, road widths, and everything corrected that may have been changed in the current land plan. And again, the exhibits reflect the current master plan that the developer has in the plan. So they're pretty simple.
So that was going to be my question. It looked like they were just updates of.
That's right.
Of the existing.
That's all it was. And this time around, as we've updated these several times through different ownerships and everything else on this track, we also, as we've done in the past, sat down with engineering and planning and made sure that we had any adjustments to, again, right-of-ways and roadway widths that are currently being followed by the city, make sure those are all currently reflected correctly.
And so the city departments have reviewed this too, or is that going to happen before the actual amendments?
We have been meeting with TBG and the representatives of Hillwood to make sure things are in alignment. We will continue to review and make sure things are in good shape before they come to you and they're fully compliant with all the regulations.
Is Grant Parkway nailed down?
I had the opportunity to attend one of the public hearings
I
on
was
the Grand
curious.
Parkway route. It is not completely nailed down,
Okay.
but they have their preferred course.
And it is only
they're doing the
100-foot
environment.
right-of-way, it's not 150 down here. I saw that in here, I thought it was going to be wider.
Well,
That's the access road to the Grand
Yeah,
Parkway.
that's not the.
Yeah, that's
Not
not
the
the
Grand
parkway,
Parkway.
that's just, right,
Okay,
I don't
Oh, it
think the
just
Grand
says Grand
Parkway will
Parkway,
show up
so-
on their map.
right, no.
It's well below the bottom line.
This is just access that would get you down to the Grand Parkway.
okay.
It's the 100-foot right-of-way would be sufficient, and we
Oh,
met with
sure.
engineering on that too, getting traffic coming up from the future Grand Parkway
Oh,
into
so
the
this is
development.
just like a feeder to their,
Well, it's, yeah, internal circulation that would get you to the
Okay.
future Grand Parkway.
so it's Grand Parkway, okay, I got
Yeah.
you now.
Its access, and I think in the agreement, it's going to remain a bit fluid in the event there's a better route to get to the Grand Parkway.
Does Grand Parkway bump up against your southern?
Not really.
Not, no.
It's farther down, okay. All right,
It'll be in Brazoria County,
yeah, okay.
where it
all
goes past there.
right. So I couldn't remember how far it'd come up.
Okay, are there any other questions of this gentleman here? Any comments from any of the commissioners? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Gary, you said we did not have to,
No action.
Actions needed.
no action needed, okay. All of this paperwork. Then we will move on to the next item.
The agreement?
I'd like to propose that we move agenda item number 11,
Remove?
yes, down just before agenda item number 9, because there are some comments that need to be made. And Jennifer, will you explain why we need to do this?
So this is a motion to change the,
Change
We're
the
having
order of
them-
the agenda.
We're having a...
Take
well, I
item
should-
11 out of order.
do we need a motion and move
We
on
need a
that?
motion to do...
I'm just
It
asking.
would be better to have a motion.
Okay.
Just-
Do I hear a motion that we move agenda
Well,
item 11?
You made the motion,
I'll second it.
okay. And so then we vote on it, right? Okay, I just want to make sure we're good. All right, so call for it, Ron?
All right. All those in favor?
Favor? All right,
Raise your right hand.
thanks, sorry, I just want to make sure we got it nailed down, because I think this is going to be complicated.
Okay.
Sorry, Jennifer.
You got the
Yes,
floor.
ma'am.
Okay, well, you're moving the Sienna DA item.
Right.
And so I'm going to explain that because it's directly related to the consent agenda. In your packets, you had the sixth agreement to the DA, and there was a land use plan that was adopted with that sixth agreement that came before the commission about a year ago, a little over a year ago. And the change that's being proposed now is if you look to the south of where the proposed Fort Bend Toll Road would go, and you see the land use designations for commercial retail for multifamily units. This is in the area where Sienna is growing and has anticipated additional single-family lots. And so the consent agenda are proposed single-family lots for this area. This land use amendment would change that area to consist of single-family residential. It would also reallocate 300 multifamily units from what's known as Tract F in that same general area to Tract D, which is this area off of Sienna Parkway. And so that would reduce what was allotted as commercial acreage in Tract D, and would allow for multifamily to be developed in that tract, and then reduce the multifamily allotment for Tract F. And this is all in the area that we typically refer to as Sienna North. The additional change, if the commission will remember, you considered a plat application down south off of Sienna Ranch Road, Sienna Beast Creek, Section 1A, which had a little bitty corner that was de-annexed recently by the city. And so this amendment, if approved, and this is in addition to what's in your reports. I know I see some strange looks at me right now. But if approved, then they would adjust this land use plan to include that little triangle area with the rural estate residential land use.
But we've already platted that, haven't we?
It has been platted.
Yeah, okay. So we're just cleaning
Yeah.
up.
Now, and when it was going through the platting stage, it was kind of weird because a lot it hadn't fully been de-annexed. So a portion was in the city, a portion was in the ETJ. And so now, since that entire tract has been de-annexed, it now would, it would be up under the development agreement and this land use plan. So we have, staff's recommendations are in there, in the report, including the change that I just mentioned to the land use plan for Tract I, the little triangle piece. Staff is requesting revised allocations, what the revised acreage amount would be, and also the revised numbers on single-family lots based on proposed and existing development that's taken place over the last year or so. And staff's recommendation is to send it forward to City Council with a positive recommendation.
I'll make the motion.
Just clarify now, 11 goes with that, right?
11 goes with
This is
the...
11.
Yeah, the exhibit, this is item 11.
11 is
We're
the
not
amendment.
gonna take it with the others.
No, that thing earlier, that was the confusing point,
That was the,
we had the Hillwood
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, and yeah.
They're not related.
And in my mind, I was going to start off with that. The Hillwood is Tract B, that you also see on the land ownership map.
Okay.
And this is dealing with tracts F, D, and I.
which is all the
Okay,
stuff.
sounds
Right.
good to me.
I made the motion.
I'll second it.
I have a question, first of all. Gary, where are we up to with the Seventh Amendment right now? Where does this thing really stand? Are we going to get it through this time, or?
As I understand the Seventh Amendment, as you know, you've considered it before.
Right.
And there are two changes that Jennifer's explained in what you've considered before, and that is the relocation of the multifamily to Tract D.
Right.
And the director's lot, or the lot that was platted that was in the city is now not in the city. Those two changes, we tentatively have it scheduled to go forward to City Council on its first reading on the 22nd of this month. So by the first reading in February, if we can stay on track, this will be approved by City Council, assuming they vote to approve it.
You don't foresee any problems, though?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
There might be concern that we are reducing the amount of retail and converting it to residential. But when you look at the location, you look how the land's laid out, and you look at what the demand is,
Makes sense.
it makes sense right now. And also the plans remain, and the interest has cranked up a great deal. That's a technical term. Where the toll road will soon be intersecting Sienna Parkway. A great deal, Michael Smith has explained to me that and described the interest that has suddenly arisen in that area now that they see the toll road coming to Sienna Parkway. I think we're going to see that finally start to happen and see a lot of activity out there. It might not be as beneficial to spread the retail out along the toll road, but to keep it more centralized.
Okay, thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this item? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, this agenda item number 11 is approved. Okay, moving on, the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion that we approve the
So moved.
consent agenda? Second. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
Yeah, I have one comment, or maybe it'll become a question. I'm just trying to understand why I've got basically what I would consider a submittal review of the TIA, and I've got, I don't know, 15 comments built into a P&Z report. I mean, trying to read through all those, and in addition, you put the TIA packet in here. I mean, why? What's the significance? We've never had that before, and you've never put all the comments in the report for us, so why do I need to look at all that? I mean, just doesn't make sense to me.
While Scott's making his way up, I view it important both at rezoning phase and at the planning phase to be informed and make sure that our infrastructure, in particular our transportation infrastructure, is in appropriate condition and well planned to handle the development that we move forward with. That's my reason for it, and I will let Scott give you good technical
And the other
reasons
reason for it, we're trying to, as much as possible, consolidate reports to the applicants. You know, I know we have previously given you technical review comments for example, the street geometrics or something to that effect. And then we've always handled the TIA as a separate item, separately with the applicant. This does two things. One, it cuts down on the amount of paperwork we're generating and the amount of different reports we send to the applicant. And two, it also makes the commission aware of the full picture of what's going on with the application that's in front of the commission. Because these items they are engineering items and are worked out with the staff and the engineering part of the city, but it is something that, you know, y'all may be interested in on that.
Interesting read.
Yeah. You can see what we do without time.
No, I mean, I understand TIAs and everything, but I guess what I'm just trying to say is, it seems like it's a little excessive for us to consider. I mean, if there's an overall problem with the TIA and then we're looking at a plat, that seems to me should already be done before we get it, shouldn't we? Shouldn't it to some extent?
Well, the submittal process, most of the time, the TIA comes in with the plat submittal
Right.
on that. Or if it had zoning application before, it would come in with the zoning application on that. It's at the commission's request. I mean, we have no problem continuing the past practices that we did and handling that separately. But when we've had some of the issues, for example, the Regency apartments, that came up, the TIA was one of the big issues out there. And y'all didn't have the staff comments. So, you know, we thought maybe y'all would not be able to fully understand some of the issues that were going on. We can go either way. If y'all prefer us to not have that
I
in
went
the
back and looked to see if, and, you know, saw a preliminary plat, and I thought, okay, we're good.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and that's fine, but I guess the thing is that, to me, the number of comments in here and some of the comments actually are going to change up a lot of geometry. Or am
I don't know
incorrect?
as much of geometry as such things as the requirement for a traffic signal, and some of them may be geometry, yes. For example, they have some of them
Turning
where
lanes,
turn lanes
yeah.
were shown on the plat is not or shown on the TIA is not reflective of what's actually on the ground on that. But, I mean, it's up to y'all, we can do it either way on that.
Let me throw out another reason on this one. These preliminary plats are moving very quickly after the concept plan. The concept plan, I think, is where we would really prefer to catch
Right.
the TIA and answer all those questions. They haven't been answered, they haven't been resolved, so to preserve them, while they still exist in the concept plan, they're being preserved and a reminder's being put in the staff report on the preliminary plat. So when we get to final, we know we've captured it and we haven't lost something.
And we're welcome to take guidance from the commission on what y'all would like to see. We can go back to the old way of doing things.
I don't get paid by the hour to review TIAs.
We could provide, like I said, to preserve what's taking place down the road, we could possibly just provide a summary note, maybe.
Summaries.
If
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, I know it's
And-
important, the
and
TIA
go
is
ahead-
important, I totally understand it.
and go ahead and include it in the packet, and it would be at your option or your discretion to actually review it or not really have you base
Yeah.
your
And
review
just-
on.
Our philosophy has always been to require the TIA at the earliest point possible in the process. So when we get to the plat stage, it's handled.
Yeah.
The difference at this point is there's no real zoning in Sienna.
Yeah,
And so we don't have a zoning application stage, so that's why it's coming in with the plat, where normally if it's in the city limits, you would see, it would be resolved with the
but
zoning
man, we've
stage.
done a lot of these Bee Creek sections already, and
And
we
we've
knew this
been
was
working
coming,
off
didn't we?
of,
I mean,
we have been working off, and this is something that y'all are not aware of, probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, when the concept plan for Sienna North was presented, an original TIA was done. And what's been happening is, as we track that concept plan versus plats, we've seen enough of a difference between those two that we needed an update to that original TIA.
well, yeah, because we've seen a lot of size changes.
Exactly,
down
a lot of lot size
All the
differences,
geometry and stuff.
and that could change the amount of traffic and everything else. So that is why, you see this. If this would have tracked a lot closer to the original concept plan, y'all would not have seen an update to the TIA.
All right, well, that makes a little more sense to me. I guess what I'd like to say is, if it's substantive like this and it is important, I guess you're trying to be politically correct, but that we're rushing the process to help them out, and we want to keep it immortalized here, I'm fine with that, but I'm hopefully not as a regular that we have to digest TIAs on every project.
Well,
'cause I think-
and this one
a lot.
is a bigger TIA
Yeah.
than normal.
Yeah, this is a big
So there's a lot more comments than there would normally be.
No, and I see
on
them,
that.
again, I'm lucky I somewhat understand them,
Well,
so.
that was one of my comments too, and I understand exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying, and I agree with that. I've never seen one with 19 of these comments like this. in the
Oh, I'm
years
sure
that-
they have some with.
Well, we have them that big, y'all just haven't seen them.
Yes, right.
I haven't seen one of them.
Yeah.
And, but it may be for the time being, we might be wise to go ahead as we're going. And if this becomes too cumbersome
Yeah.
or whatever, then we can always cut it out.
We can do that.
Well, I know the signal situation is always,
Signals are always a big one.
Sticky.
Signals and preserving right-of-way is always our two big.
Is a big issue.
Issues.
I understand. Okay. And obviously, we want to make sure our ITS or whatever y'all are moving for is continued south. It makes sense, so,
It is, and
okay.
totally, well, not totally unrelated, but since you said the words ITS, we actually
Good buzzword,
hopefully
isn't it?
will actually receive this year some additional federal funding to continue
Yeah,
it further
I
south,
heard.
including building another communications tower.
Oh, okay.
Because we're having a problem seeing some of the signals down at the far south end of Sienna Parkway.
Gotcha.
All that curvature of the earth thing.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right,
right,
good deal. I
thank you,
appreciate
Scott.
it. I understand it.
Gary, thank you for your comments also. All right, is there a motion?
We already made the motion in a second.
We already made
For
a
discussion.
Who made the motion?
I did.
You did? Who
I
seconded?
seconded the
You
motion.
seconded, all
And I
right.
interrupted it with a question.
All right. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, the consent agenda is approved as presented. Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 10. Public hearing and consideration of a final replat for Colony Plaza, parcel S-B1, Reserve A, replat number 2.
That's a 5, by the way. That's supposed to be a 5.
Well, this replat should look familiar to you.
Partial 5. Partial 5, please.
5, B1.
Okay.
Oh, it's not an S.
All right.
I'm sorry, were you done?
No.
I'm sorry.
Typo.
Oh, okay.
And this is a replat, it wasn't on the consent, since it does require a public hearing. But this is a replat for the 2 rezoning projects that you saw late last year, for 2 PDs, the assisted living facility and Fort Bend Family Promise. Those PDs were approved by council, and so now they're coming back to subdivide, the property. And so that is the replat, and actually, the applicant has made the 1 staff comment, or made the change to the replat, addressing the 1 staff comment on your report. So the commission could fully approve the replat tonight, and it would be in line to receive signatures after the meeting tonight.
But we have to have a public hearing first.
You have to have a public hearing first.
So we call the public hearing.
Well, we're in it.
We're in it.
You already called.
We've already called it.
Is there any public?
I guess I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second that.
Moved and seconded that we close the public hearing. All those in favor? Okay. Do I hear a motion that we grant
Submit this
final
to-
approval?
City council, or
Well, no city
grant
council.
final, that we grant final approval for this replat.
Yeah, second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on agenda item number 10? All those in favor? Those opposed? It is 5 o'clock.
Yep, that's it.
I'm just teasing you.
I didn't have to do it conditionally.
You said that was it?
Yeah, well, no.
Okay,
Do the,
moving on to the last agenda item. Public hearing and consideration of a preliminary report for plan development, unity of ownership. Gary?
Just as a reminder, we are under our new procedure on zoning text amendment, so this is the public hearing on the preliminary report, and we will have a public hearing on the final report at your next meeting. This is the topic we discussed in concept last month. When we have a planned development, and just let me call out Parkway Trails for your consideration. If you're familiar with that subdivision with the commercial lot, about an acre at the front on 1092. If somebody wants to change any of the conditions related to that commercial tract on 1092, they would have to get every property owner in Plantation Trails to agree to change it. We believe with infill development and with the maturing of our community and the need that we will see for redevelopment, that the absolute requirement for unity of ownership presents not only a challenge, but perhaps too great a burden to allow the redevelopment. We're aware of one situation where somebody seeks to amend a PD, and one of the property owners we have been told, has requested a significant sum of money for their signature. We don't believe this is the right result. On top of it all, we believe that City Council is vested with the authority to make changes on zoning matters regardless of absolute consent of all the property owners. We recommend a change in the unity of ownership on PDs as to amendments. As we've proposed it, we add a section that an applicant who chooses or who desires to amend a PD as to the property that applicant controls and no other property within the PD, either gets everybody to sign. If he can get everybody to sign, that's great. If not, he submits a statement that he has contacted all the owners, given them notice of his intention to do it, provides us at the time of application with a list of all the owners based on the tax rolls, sends out a notice to them before he comes to us with the application, tells them about the application for the amendment, describes the changes in the conditions on the property or the surrounding area that support his request for the change, the anticipated impact, whether it's economic, parking, driveway accessibility, that will result on the other property owners within the PD. And then it comes forward to you. We know what they think. We give all property owners a chance to protest, a chance to state their support for or their opposition to the rezoning. Then that is considered on your recommendation, and City Council has that information to make a decision on whether or not the rezoning is appropriate. And I'm going to turn to E. Joyce and say, did I leave anything out?
No, I think you covered everything except for the one amendment I know we wanted to make to this particular section.
I'll let the better brains explain the real technical detail.
And this is just one minor change that we would like to propose to subsection C. If you'll look at the sentence beginning with a zoning map amendment of a PD district authorized by City Council, we would like to remove the text as amended by the application so that it's clear that the previous zoning that existed before the application was made still applies to those property owners who were not seeking any sort of change in their PD regulations. So we just want to strike the words as amended by the application so that it's clear to those owners that their currently existing regulations continue to apply to their property.
Until it's,
Right, well, until the PD changes.
right.
I mean, what this does is that it'll change the zoning regulations for the applicant, but not for the other property owners. So we just want to make it clear to those property owners that their zoning regulations continue to remain as they were approved by the PD, but the change will occur for the property owner who does make the application only.
Okay, what is there?
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
In terms of the process that you discussed, if this body agrees with the changes that you want and the wording, this is a public hearing, then we announce another public hearing next month. Are we voting on your proposed changes, or are we just having a public hearing to discuss these changes?
It would be appropriate to approve the preliminary report as you might amend it, as Ms. Ayamu has, I can't talk tonight, I'm sorry, has suggested.
So we would take her recommendation and amend our motion, take our motion and put that in as an amendment
We have to put your portion
into
in
the motion,
to the motion
Yes.
to make it go forward.
which means just to strike those 4 words.
So this, excuse me, so this applies to PDs only,
PDs.
right? Do we anticipate this situation outside of PDs? And I mean, are we concerned about that or need to address that, or is it only within the PD that we anticipate this?
I don't believe we require unity of ownership in any other situation unless it's an SUP. But only, it would only be in PDs where we require everybody involved. Now, understand in a straight rezoning, when you come forward with the application, bring all the owners with you,
Right.
Right.
because we're going to have a hard time recommending that on a citizen's request or a owner of a part of the property's request to rezone the property, that we rezone over the protest of another owner.
That's right.
Because we're affecting their property, we could well be answering taking claims at that time. We don't want to go down that road. That's why very rarely do you see the city leading a rezoning request. Normally, it's fueled or driven by the property owner's request. Very few cities go out and affirmatively rezone property. So this really is the PD, and it's only an amendment to the PD. We won't start a PD on property until all the property owners say, start the PD.
Okay, but if they fail to protest within the time frame, then they're just out of luck then,
Well, it
unless you take it to the courthouse.
it's deemed that they're consenting at that time. Even if they protest and city council believes it's the right thing to do, they can rezone it. Then it can be a test of whether or not that was the right decision.
Right.
Although great deference is given to council's decision in those situations.
And what does, I mean, there's nothing in here on the time frame other than at the time that they have to be notified, and then prior to the time it comes to here, they have to file a protest.
Well, actually, it's prior to the time city council gets to their last reading as a practical matter. They could come in at the
Yeah, the
last city
sentence
council
covers
meeting and,
The absolute
And file a
deadline is
protest.
at the close of the public hearing
Oh,
at city
right.
council.
Okay, I see.
That's right.
So who's responsible to notify?
the applicant, whoever wants to make the change.
And you don't think we won't be helping them do that? Sorry, that's fine.
Well, we will be having pre-development meetings with people, as we have with everybody, but it's going to be their postage.
Yeah, I mean, but it's their responsibility.
It's their responsibility. We will be double-checking what they give us
Sure.
to make sure that
So what happens
notified
if
people.
they, and I guess the next thing down the road is what happens if they don't notify everybody?
If they don't,
You kick it out?
we have the option of kicking it out or working with them, whether it appears to us to be inadvertent or an
Yes.
intentional act.
Right, okay, so that would more than likely be done before it comes to us?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, within the time period after the submittal date, we'll be reviewing it, checking the tax rolls, checking the ownership.
all right,
And with the new system,
right.
we'll be able to do it much quicker.
Sure, so ultimately what we become is the ability, give the owner to keep a level playing field somewhat, or a
That's right.
reasonable level playing field so he can get his amendment through.
That's right.
So he can hopefully improve his property or whatever, within reason.
If the use is reasonable and if it's what appropriate and deemed by city
Beats all.
council to be what's appropriate at that location, so that it can move forward.
All right.
Right now, it can't even get
Interesting.
to the application stage.
So you think this comes back to when we do redevelopment of existing PDs? Like tear down or?
That,
change it?
it's
Okay.
for amendment.
Interesting.
And it
Okay.
may be you have a vacant space in a PD that you haven't been able
Oh,
to
we
use,
have
haven't been able to use, and
Okay, I understand.
You mentioned Round Rock out here. What about our neighboring cities like Sugar Land, Pier Land? Any idea?
we have
Do
looked
they have
at
any
that.
system in place?
We have looked at that, and I believe our research revealed that our neighboring cities do not require unity of ownership in a PD.
Oh, wow.
They do to create it, but they don't to amend it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So we're kind of out in front anyway. We're taking our step back.
Okay,
Well, the main thing here is that the city has grown and developed through the years because we've made the amendments when they needed to be made so the city could grow.
sure.
And we certainly want to protect that.
And the suggestion staff is making is not a criticism of the ordinance, because we believe it's worked quite well.
Yes.
We believe we've grown to a point now where it may not be as productive
Well,
as a change
so
would
we're
be.
creating some flexibility for us to be
That's
able to
correct.
work with. Okay.
How much trouble did what is it, Round Rock or whatever?
Round Rock.
How much trouble did they have there for the,
Okay, as I always say, when I say I shouldn't, I'm going to. They didn't have any trouble, they prevailed. But
that,
it was very good for the legal community, because I'm sure there are quite a few attorney's fees racked up in the process of going through the appellate court system to prevail. And the property owner is out the same amount, out that money for attorney's fees, didn't lose value in his property, but lost an advantage he thought he had on having just those being the only person with apartments in that very large PD.
Well, that makes sense.
So they did it in the face of their ordinance that required unity of ownership.
Well, they were determined, weren't they?
I can't speak to, don't know what their thought process was.
In terms of the preliminary.
So we're
amendment
still in public hearing, right?
We close the public hearing, then we vote on what you've presented, including the wording. If it does get voted in terms of a consent, then next month, we have another public hearing on the final report, and we vote on that.
That's correct.
But the final report will be,
Basically what she's
Yeah.
is presented.
and we're voting on this going.
All right, do we hear a motion that we,
I make that motion.
First, we have to close the public hearing.
Oh,
Does anybody else,
Well,
does
we're
anybody
gonna-
want to say anything?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
there you go. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, the public hearing is closed.
And I make a motion to move forward with the proposed amendment and wording, as well as calling another public hearing, or is that already a given? As well as call another public hearing on the final report next month,
I second.
as written.
Yeah, that does it, yeah.
You
All
second?
right, is there a second to that?
A quick
Second
point of
over here, Lynn.
clarification, when you say as proposed, you mean as modified by what was discussed here tonight?
Yeah, it sounds better, doesn't it?
Okay.
As you
Proposed
explained.
by the senior assistant
As you
city
Lawyer
explained.
stuff in there.
Whoa, there's a lawyer
And
coming
the, or, yeah.
And or the,
Never and always.
Okay, John's got the motion, Lynn's got the second. Any further discussion on this item at all? Anyone? All right, all those in favor? Those opposed?
and or.
And/or.
Get you in trouble.
We are adjourned.
Get you in trouble.